are some of your memories of working with Tully Blanchard?
Hard worker. Everybody, and I know Tully today, and he would probably agree with me. Everybody that knew Blanchard knew that Tully had a little bit of an attitude. He had a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. I understand he was a good athlete in high school. I think football quarterback in college or something like that,
Right. Mm-hmm.
And also in high school. Not a bad ball player. Which leads you to believe that he probably has a good work ethics about working out and keeping in shape, to be able to do it. But I think maybe it had something to do with his dad being a promoter down there in a couple of towns down there in Texas, right? The Blanchard name, and really not being the biggest of heels, but off camera, he always had that little chip on his shoulder, and it sort of carried through on camera when he did his interviews, and it also carried through into the way he worked in the ring. And so the fans viewed Tully as that he wasn't the biggest of all heels, but God bless them, they hated him because he was a cocky son of a bitch out there in the ring, and just. And a little bit of that rubbed off even when in real life for Tully. Everybody say, yeah, Tully, but he's got that chip on his shoulder. Sometimes he gets that attitude, man. You just want to slap the shit out of him or something,
Right.
Yeah.
Now, when Dusty Rhodes came in the book for Crockett, how did the company change? So I think you and Roddy Piper are two guys that basically walked out when Dusty came in.
Well, I went to the WWF at that time.
Right. Did you think it was the right time to leave, or did you guys have differences?
Well, I just saw the writing on the wall. Dusty was he's Booker / babyface, right?
Right.
He's the guy with the pencil, plus he's the babyface too. And I was babyface in that territory for several years. I saw the writing on the wall. It started with Tully, and I would wrestle. I think at that time he had beaten me for the TV belt. At that time, the time limit, even though the match was a 60-minute time limit, but for the first 20 minutes, the TV championship was up.
Right.
It made it kind of interesting, a little different. And so I would wrestle Tully all around the territory and beat him, but after the 20-minute mark. I'd win the match, but I didn't win the belt. So then we'd come back and we'd do interviews for the next shows and say, okay, we've extended the time limit to 30. So I would go, and the first time I think I beat him like in 25 minutes, 5 minutes over the time limit. So now we got 30 minutes. I said, well, I got 5 minutes to spare. So I'm going to win the belt. Well, we go all around the territory and I would beat him at, the 35 or 40 minute mark. Just 5 or 10 minutes after the 30-minute mark. Then we went around, I think we went as far around as a third time with Blanchard, in which we extended the time limit to 45 minutes on the belt. And it was in Greensboro, and I beat him like in 47 minutes or something like that, 2 minutes after And Blanchard had a great way of painting a picture of being able to show the fans how he could cheat the time. In other words, people kept saying, how in the world was he able to keep extending, staying away from you? First you went 20 minutes and then you went 30 minutes. Now you're going 45. And every single time you kept beating him like 2 or 3 minutes after the time limit expired. So everybody thought was, damn, Steamboat, you're going to get him next time because they just gave you an extra 10 minutes. You're going to get him for sure. But Blanchard had a great persona and a great way of project, and the people could see it. Oh, he's stalling, and all this and all that.
Right.
He says, damn, and I'd be chasing after him, running around and all this and all that. But after we had done that Greensboro match, in which I didn't beat him for the belt, but I did beat him, and it was only a couple minutes after the time limit expired. And Dusty came back to Greensboro after that match with Blanchard and beat Tully in 12 minutes and took the TV belt. And then Dusty immediately started hooking me up with Nikita Koloff. So I think Nick at that time had just been working a year or two in the business. And he big Russian, you know, had a great look about him. And I think, and a new heel, new guy on the block. So I saw the writing on the wall because I saw things that were happening on TV. He'd have Nikita come up and clothesline me from behind as I'm walking up the aisle back to the locker room and stuff like that. And then I know that he's just trying to build up Nikita because I could see, and which happened later on, the writing on the wall was that it was Dusty and Nikita. It's, you know, the American dream against the Russian nightmare.
Right.
It looked good on paper. So I just decided it was time for, you know, I've been there for several years, time for me to go. George Scott at that time was booking for Vince, starting up there with the big WrestleManias and everything. And I think timing was good for me to go.
Now, how different was the WWF when you first entered it compared to Jim Crockett's promotion?
You know, at that time, all the guys, oh man, we're going to be flying everywhere instead of driving. You know, we're going to be flying to Philly, Dallas, LA, instead of driving. I remember that was a big comment with everybody. Come to find out, everybody wanted to get back to driving. You know, you could pull over at a gas stop and get something to drink. You could just, if you got hungry, you could pull into the drive-thru. You know, you weren't stuck with a plane full of people like a bunch of cattle in a round cylinder, breathing all these germs, and everybody's gagging and coughing, and somebody's sick or this baby next to you is crying. You know, God bless it. Everybody says, "Man, this traveling by air this is shit. You know, I want to get in my car and drive, put the windows down, and roll down the highway with the air coming in."
Right.
You know, and we were doing this traveling by, you know, every single day. It was different time zones, jet lag, you know, and every now and then you would get booked in a part of the country to where maybe you could be there for 2 or 3 days. You know, Florida, you could maybe wrestle Tampa and Miami and
California.
California out there in LA, San Diego, San Francisco, you know, Anaheim. That was, whenever we saw those bookings, everybody was like, it was a breath of fresh air. But other than that, they would have you go, you know, you could go New York, you know, Chicago down to Dallas, Dallas up to Montreal, Montreal down to Miami, Miami over to Portland, Portland over here to Philly, Philly up, you know, to Minneapolis, Minneapolis down to, you know, New Mexico. So it was horrifying.
Watch thousands of exclusive shoot interviews right now on TitleMatchNetwork.com.